Every time I do this, it feels like the miracle of it works.
That's fine.
It's thing from the bridge.
So we have A, B, and C, okay, so we have A, we have multiple
hoping
copies
not
now,
the
B and C,
I'm hoping it's that.
B and C, and the letter. And this car that we're buying, is that us?
Yes.
Was that left here?
No, that's from the list.
All right, you want to get us on TV?
You're on.
Oh, we're on?
Yep.
All right, can we do the pledge of allegiance for this meeting?
Usually do that for the board meeting,
Not for this meeting.
right?
Okay.
We still love America though, right?
I mean, I sure hope so.
It doesn't mean we don't love America. I just want to be, I just want to be clear to the people watching, since nobody's actually present, and those watching at home, all the people tuning into the 7 o'clock Parking Authority meeting, that we still do love America and we do pledge our allegiance to it. We will do our pledge of allegiance at the beginning of the full board meeting. All right, so Parking Authority meeting, we have one agenda item. And that is to adopt the 2025-26 Parking Authority budget. What is their budget year?
Same as ours, it's just
We're just a little late.
just fiscal year.
All right, then I have a couple of questions about the budget. There's a column
Do we need
for,
a motion for it or not?
to look at the, oh, is it a motion to approve it? Yeah, okay, can I get the motion on the table?
Motion.
Second.
All right, now I have some questions about the budget. The budget has a 24-25 year-to-date number. When was the budget prepared?
That's as of March.
As of March, so we didn't update it for this, so we then annualized it with an estimation, but we don't have the actuals as of the end of May.
Correct.
Okay. Now then, that's one question. Second question. At the bottom, so we're a little bit behind our budget. I'm sorry, I don't have the budget from last year, but we're projecting a growth for the 25-26 budget, okay. At the bottom, it has the total budget expenditures under the year to date. It has expenditures at 671,000 and then generates a profit loss of 388,000.
Correct.
Then for the annualized, it cuts back to, it now raises expenditures up to 1.2 million. And then the profit loss is only $72,000. My guess is that's the $300,000 that they pay the village.
Correct, yes.
Okay, which doesn't get paid till the end of the end of their budget year.
Correct, it has been paid now, yes.
Okay, so they made, on top of that, they made $72,000 to go toward the paying down of the debt.
Correct, it's a little more than that, I don't know the exact number, but it's a little over 100,000, it's gonna be
Okay.
between 100 and 150.
All right. Is that what this car has to do with? Andy, is there anything about this car that's part of the
Yeah.
parking?
The car is in the expense budget.
Mhm.
It's halfway down. This number is for 53,000, but the car actually only costs 30.
Yeah.
What line is that?
33.
It's been vehicle expense.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't, I don't see 53,000 is in the budget. Okay, okay.
And you said how much does it cost?
It looks like about, I think it said 33. I got find a sheet of paper again.
Oh, this is.
It says 34. Does that include taxes?
We don't
No
have tax.
No. Oh, we don't pay taxes?
No.
Can you buy my next car?
What is
Let me drive it
the,
around.
what is the vehicle gonna be used for?
Say
So
no.
the rationale is the parking authority runs two vehicles. One of them is a 2012 Transit van, which has high repair bills and has no working air conditioner. It's overdue for replacement. This vehicle,
13 years is a.
yeah, and this is a hybrid. It's a small pickup truck with a cab on the back with place to put tools and cones and such like. And I think it makes sense to replace the aging van into a vehicle that doesn't have things breaking all the time.
Yeah, and so we're approving that acquisition as part of the budget.
Yeah.
Or you're just letting us know about that as part of the budget. We don't have any specific authorization to buy the truck.
I'm trying to remember, yeah,
The village board.
yes, we have the truck purchase is a resolution on the village board's
Ah,
agenda.
okay.
Are we trading in the old vehicle?
How much is it worth as a surplus?
I don't know.
I have no idea. Is that what you're
But
asking?
yes,
Yeah, are we trying to get it?
they're surplusing it. That's what
Yeah.
that's what they call them. All right. Any other questions about the budget?
How long, where are we in terms of paying down the debt? Like,
Yeah,
how's that looking for now?
I can give you an answer. Yeah, so I didn't know the exact amount they'll be able to give this year. It's between 100 and 150, but before that, it's about 850,000. So take away, the 150-ish,
Okay,
it's gonna be around 700,000.
okay,
150, is it 300?
It's the debt that the parking authority owes to the village is $850,000.
Correct.
They also pay the village to lease or to have the right to collect revenue on the streets of Nyack. And that's a $300,000 expense from the parking authority to the village. So the village shows it as revenue, the parking authority shows it as an expense.
okay.
And that whatever they show as profit after that is then
Yes.
redirected, moving some paper around, moving some bits and bytes around, moves into the village budget,
Right.
or not budget, but moves into our cash flow. And that pays down the paper debt that they owe to the village,
Correct.
which would be good to do because it affects our credit rating to have that kind of debt.
Right, so if the parking authority, sorry, if the village owes 850,000 as a budget item or a balance sheet item, excuse me, I should say, and 300,000 is being paid down this year?
No,
No, 150,000 is being paid down.
They paid the 300 for their lease, we call it a village lease, and then on top of it, they paid $150,000 about around.
On top of that, okay,
Correct.
gotcha.
whatever the parking authority makes as profit, they pay us to pay down the debt. They also pay us every year a lease on the streets that they have to pay us. That's contractually obligated. If they happen to make less than $300,000 in profit, then that would just go, the debt would go up and we would get less than our $300,000 toward the village income.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just looking at we had a big increase in personnel costs because we hired somebody else, right?
Yeah, you're full time.
All right. Medical insurance bounces around a lot. What is that about?
Oh, throughout the years?
Yeah, in 21, it was 47, then it was 65, then it was 108, then it was 39, then it was 34. Year to date, then annualized, it went up to 112, and next year's 143. That's a lot of insurance. How many employees are there in the parking authority?
Three full-time people now.
I mean, $143,000 for 3 full-time people seems,
Yeah, 108,
Family?
22, 23.
yeah, even a family plan is
Oh.
not 50 grand, I don't think.
Would any of this have to do with anything impending from the feds in terms of cuts or things like that?
I mean, it wouldn't,
It wouldn't balloon at that.
no,
Okay.
yeah. Let's hope it's,
It's very timely.
Looking at the breakdown here, we have 3 full-time employees, was about $16,000 a month we budgeted for them, and then a biannually Medicare payment of 14,000. And then, what else was in this line? And then we had dental insurance of 400, eyeglass reimbursements of 900 a year. What else is in here? I think that's, yeah, that's everything that.
so 3 people is $14,000 a month for the medical insurance?
No, that's 3 full-time employees.
Is what for the medical insurance? You see, you gave me a monthly
Yeah,
number,
just about 6,000 per month,
6,000.
correct.
So that's 70, that times 12 is 72,000.
And then we have a biannual Medicare payment of 14,000, assuming.
That's 96.
And then we have, what else? Dental insurance is 400.
Total
I think
or per
that's,
person?
I think that's gonna be per person,
Per person per month?
right?
So 1,200 times 12, another 14,000.
And then eyeglass reimbursement for everyone and welfare fund benefits for everyone.
It just, I mean, I'm just looking, it's a big difference from
Right,
23, 24.
right. Yeah, I don't know what it went into those numbers and when it was so
All right,
small.
it might have been inaccurate in the prior years. That's the only thing I can think of, because I mean, it was 108 in 23.
Right,
So 108 to 143 seems like
Right.
a reasonable increase given what's happened to health and health costs from 4 years. or 3 or 4 years.
And that seems like a lot per employee. So we're paying, again, how much the monthly amount was?
For the total for the 3 full-time people was just under $6,000 per month.
6,000, so that's $2,000.
It's 72,000 for 3 people, it's 20 something thousand per year. If they're on family, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
That's probably about right. But we're still, even with all those numbers adding up, it didn't quite get to 143 in my head when I was keeping track. So let's just try to figure out, just, you know, it's not gonna stop us from passing the budget, but let's try to get a,
Give you a breakdown.
because 143 for 3 employees, how many employees do we have in the village? How many total employees?
Let's say 39 full-timers.
So let's say we have 40. I'm trying to remember what our medical budget, medical insurance budget was for the village.
I can pull it up if you want.
Because that would be 40 people would be 3 would be 13 times. So it would be 13 times 143. I can't do that math in my head.
Plus $2 million.
Yeah. About 1.9. Pretty close. You look at it's good. Pretty good. See if I can find it. We're in a race, Kyle. I got the 25-26 budget folder open. Here we go. Annotated 25-26 budget. And expense.
I've got it's line 9060.8. We have just under $1 million.
So we're at just under $1 million for 40 employees in the village. And we're at 143,000 for 3 employees in the parking authority.
I'll recheck the numbers she did to get to this.
I'm not being critical. You see that's a little bit odd.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I could recheck how Jen got to that number 143. Because I agree with you, it might make sense that our math's not adding up here.
I mean, 143 is almost 50,000 per person. And we're doing about $1 million for 40 people, so it's about 25 per person.
It just sounds much more reasonable.
Right.
Which, you know, if it was 25, then the health insurance, for medical insurance for the parking authority would be more like 80,000 or 90,000.
Right.
So let's find out. Let's just try to get an answer to the question. It's probably some numbers getting pushed in the wrong column. But it would be good to know.
Mhm.
And maybe looking to see why it's been so inconsistent year after year. That's an odd, that's why it jumped out at me. If it had been high for the last 3 years, I would have said, okay, that's the way it is, but.
Yeah, let's not forget that during the pandemic, there was furlough.
Hey,
Yeah, I get that. I get that, but also 23-24 wasn't pandemic and it was $40,000.
Yeah.
Now it's only 2 people. But we're at the 20,000 per person line, which is 20,000 per person is what we have seen as the what we averaged out for the village.
Yeah, how does it get from 40 to 112 to 143 is the question. Yeah.
Even the annualized, it's weird that the year to date is 34,000, the annualized is 112.
I don't know how she did
I mean,
that.
2 months would be very strange for the health insurance to jump up that much.
Right.
It should be a monthly fee.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It should be pretty much even throughout the year. There's no like special expenses that come up. All right, does anybody, so let's track that down. It's not gonna stop us from approving the budget because we gotta get the budget approved, but let's track that down, try to get an email out to circulate to explain what happened. Any other questions or comments on the parking authority budget? Now that we have members of the public here, any comments or questions on the parking authority budget from the public? Yeah.
No thoughts.
Let the minutes reflect that Cal said that we should issue more tickets to get more revenue coming into the parking authority. Just slip that in there. We'll see how that plays out. All right, we good? All right, if no more comments or questions, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The budget is approved with 6 minutes to spare until 7:30.
I have two other parking things I want to mention to you.
Okay.
Just so the board isn't surprised, whatever. I have a request from Tony from DPNB to occupy the parking space with an outdoor pizza oven on Thursday evenings, 5 to 9, so it doesn't really hit our parking revenue except for 2 hours from 5 to 7. Just Thursdays through the summer as part of his kind of business development there. We don't see any concern with the logistics of that. He wouldn't be leaving overnight, he'd just be parking there for the evening to
Because there was concern he was gonna be leaving overnight, which was a big deal, because we don't allow people to park overnight on the street.
overnight parking.
So it's gonna be a truck?
It's
It's
a
a-
trailer with a pizza oven on it
Okay,
that he can use to cook in ways that he otherwise couldn't cook and serve his customers. And it would need to be towed there, placed, used for 4 hours and then removed each Thursday evening that he would be doing.
so the parking space would have to be blocked off then?
Yeah, well, I would just ask him to put a car out there so he could do it himself.
And if somebody parks there for a period of time, somebody else?
The way it would work easiest for me is if I don't have to manage it, is he parks a car where he wants his pizza oven, and then when he gets there with a pizza oven, he moves his car to his pizza oven.
That's clear, but if somebody comes before he has a chance to park his car,
That's his problem.
that's a problem.
We'll figure it out.
You'd have to risk a ticket because you can't park for more than 3 hours, so you'd have to, if he wants to have it there all day, then he's gonna risk a ticket, but, you know, that's not really a,
We'll figure it out.
okay.
I mean, I just want the board to know. And because we talked about it a little bit, I think last meeting, I think with the mayor anyway. That from a logistical parking perspective, it's not a problem. And
Okay,
sort of adds to the fun of the streets.
and what's the second?
The second one is, I'm working with Steve Sia on a fast charger plan. Most likely for the Catherine Street parking lot. And there's a little bit of a trade-off in that the fast charger deal has to have 4 spots. Our metered spots along the front there total, I think 7. I'm not sure I have to look for it. So we use up a lot of spots that otherwise someone could use to get a cup of coffee without an EV. And so our thought on it is if, and it's a big if right now, if the O&R capacity proves out to be true and we can go ahead with the plan, we would take 2 of the permit spots closest by and turn them into meter spots. So we'd offset the loss of metered spots partially
Yeah,
by knocking a couple of permits out of the inventory for the rear part of the lot. And that's sat over there with Rosa for a little while today. We looked at the permit system. There's a couple other improvements for that lot that are needed in terms of signage. And I think that would be a reasonable kind of balancing act as we add EV spots. We're losing a little bit of accessibility for people who don't drive EVs, but we could make that up a bit by converting a couple of permit spots back to meters.
So, which lot is this?
Catherine Street,
On Catherine.
across from
the Didier.
DDA, yeah, across from DDA.
Those permitted spots, are they always like, when you put out the permits for those, are there spots always empty or are they always pretty much filled up?
The permitting for that lot is very busy.
Okay.
We have inventory over on the village lot on Artipe. On the Catherine Street lot, it's a little cheaper and it tends to sell out. So, interesting, I talked to a couple people who park there. One of them lives on Bridge Street, one of them lives on Main Street over Big Red Books. So, and there's some businesses which buy permits for their employees nearby. So it gets very active use.
Okay,
And the permits are monthly, so if the EV charger deal goes through, and I'm gonna bring that back to you so you can see the numbers on it, because that's not a done deal by any means. I'm just trying to think through.
And we have to think about it, and I think I'd love to get more level 3 chargers here. I think level 3 chargers are good because people do go out of their way to go to a level 3 charger. You generally can charge a car in less than an hour, so people don't squat there, but they do charge and then they go get something to eat, or they go walk around shop. So it's a good for the businesses to have level 3 chargers. The problem is that there isn't a lot of parking up in that part of, by Didier. And taking away more spots is a little bit of a concern, because there's a little bit of street parking, and there's a little, Catherine Street lot is really just a permit lot. It doesn't have a lot of public spaces. And I wonder whether or not I know you've looked at all the other options.
And my other option is the marina. It's an easy one, apparently, from an electrical grid perspective.
Which doesn't help the businesses, but is not.
Gets us some
inconvenient.
fast chargers. That's
I mean,
very little trade-off.
I mean,
what,
I'd probably go for that before I go for Catherine Street. Personally, I'll let everybody else.
What
speak.
about the Easter Square lot?
That lot is electrical wise is super hard to work with. We had a lot of trouble just getting
I don't
the
think they can
chargers we
handle the
have
load.
there. And the big transformer box behind the supermarket is maxed out and can't be adjusted. It would need to be entirely replaced somewhere else in the parking lots. Just plus, even in order to do that, I gotta shut down the supermarket and all those restaurants. It's a very, very hard area to do more chargers in. So I'm not, the charger guys don't want to touch it, basically.
I agree with Joe about the Catherine Street.
I kind of would like to keep Catherine Street without. It's also tight. Like it's not the best. It's not the best to have people coming in and out of it. Like as you know, parking, unfamiliar with the area and looking for a spot, you pull out. It's a little bit of a scary pull out because of the traffic kind of zooms down Main Street.
It's tricky.
I mean, I really did like the idea of having level 3 chargers to bring people into the village, but it's not the worst thing in the world to send them down to the marina. You know, to look at they can look at the park. If they want if they're gonna be charging long enough, they can walk up the hill and get something to eat. But it's, it's also, it's a pretty place to get your charge.
Yeah.
It would be a very popular place, and we might be able to put more than 4 if we could, because we could put them right in that same area. So I would look at that, and I know Steve looked really hard at the thing, so I was one of the people that said, I don't want to put in the marina because I really want the big businesses.
Yeah.
But, was everybody kind of on the same sense?
yeah,
Marina over the.
Marina over
Catherine
Catherine Street's just really small, and I mean, to everyone's point, getting in and out of Catherine Street is kind of a pain in the butt, so.
If you know your way around, dude.
Yeah, even if you know your
If
way
you
around.
don't.
No, and if it clearly is more simple to put chargers down in Marina.
Definitely.
There's a little bit more of a
There's a lot of
song and
space.
dance you have to do to get them up in Catherine, so I'd rather leave it as is.
All right, I'll take that back to our EV charger
Yeah,
Yeah,
task force.
and we can, as many as we can put down there, we can put down there. We have a ton of parking spaces down there.
What about the Howard?
Yeah, they would
He says that it's better down there.
they would go near, because they gotta go close to the existing. And feasibility needs to be done on all these sites to further confirm, but we can push in that direction and I can report back as to.
Okay, all right, let's see what happens with it. We gotta start the regular meeting. We didn't close do we have to do a motion to close the parking authority meeting?
Sure. Yeah.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Motion adjourned, meeting adjourned of the parking authority. And are we all set? Do you want to close the YouTube feed and then start a new one?
No,
You just run right into it?
yeah.
Okay. All right, then, please join me and join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining us. Today is Thursday, June 26th. It's a little after 7:30. This is a meeting of the Village Board of Trustees for the Village of Nyack. You're all welcome here. Thank you for coming. We just had a parking authority meeting. We'll cover that as part of the old business later on. Just a quick remark. I just wanted to update on the status of the families who were dislocated by the fire at the plaza a few weeks ago. The fund that was set up by the NAACP has been paying to keep them in hotels for the past several weeks. That is gonna continue, but there is now some possibility of finding, we were looking for housing in institutional housing, like at dorms or something like that. But it looks like we might be able to put them in replacement rental housing with a subsidy from HUD. So we're pursuing that right now. That just sort of came up today. Also, a reminder for everybody here or watching next week, happy Independence Day to everybody. And we will have the traditional fireworks show on Friday night. It's Fridays, right? Friday night's the 4th.
Right.
On Friday night, the 4th of July, the evening of the 4th of July, it starts at around a little after 9 o'clock. As soon as the sun is definitely down and you get a dark skies. There will also be starting earlier in the evening, around 6, Andy?
Yeah.
Around 6, there will be DJ Morgana, will be DJing music from the gazebo, and there will be food trucks, and there will be opportunities to spread your blanket out. The fireworks are going to go offshore again, which means that you can use the entire park to set up. Earlier in the day on the 4th of July, there's going to be the traditional, although not, we haven't really done it in Niagara as far as I know, but there is a tradition, small town tradition of reading of the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July. That will get read by the League of Women Voters are running an event at 12 o'clock in Hezekiah Easter Square. It'd be nice for people to come out, get a little patriotic feel to the day before the barbecue start. They'll be at noon in Hezekiah Easter Square. And that's it for the major announcements. Anybody from the board wish to make a remark?
Just one, Linda, the hotel tax passed.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. Just want you to know that. Oh, yes, they got, everything got done on time and it's voted and it's, the governor just has to call it up. So.
We have an existing hotel tax, but it needs to get renewed every 3 years, and it was just renewed by the legislature, which is very good because that does help fund tourism grants as well as our general fund. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to know, is there gonna be a report, or has there been a report from the fire department and the village regarding the fire at the plaza?
Comes from the sheriff, I believe, right?
Right, every time there's a fire, the investigative group from the sheriff looks at the source of and causes and provides a report. They don't typically send it to me, they send it to the fire department and the fire inspector and the village building department. And I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if it exists yet or not.
As far as I know, we met with them last week. They had not gotten it yet as of like last Wednesday or Thursday. But they do expect it soon, and it's both fires. They're still waiting to hear about the cause of both fires.
Right.
We've heard unofficially what they think it was, but we haven't yet gotten any official word on it.
Well, that begs the question, when that report is done, how that will affect our safety inspections for the rest of the complex.
I'm not gonna speak, I'll give you a general sense, because this is what I've understood to be the case, is that the building was, when it was built, it was up to code. It would no longer, the way it was built and the way it was structured with the interior, the line running interior to the wall.
Okay.
Would not be allowed. So it's when they rebuild the building, it's not going to be rebuilt in that way.
Right.
But now that this has happened, I believe it happened another time years ago, that they're going to be inspecting the other buildings more carefully for that particular
Right,
issue.
yes, that's
Yes.
just what I want to happen. Okay.
Will they need to remedy the other buildings so that to prevent it?
If it may be that they're going to be doing remedial, I don't know what the it's all depends on what Manny comes up with and what the fire inspector comes up with on it. But it may be, tearing the walls out. It may be what the inputs that are going into those things. I don't know. This is where I've now maximized my understanding of how the fire stuff works. But we can ask that. Let's make a note to when the report comes back, we get a report from the fire inspector as to what's the fallout from there? What's the remedial measures that might be taken about making sure it doesn't happen again? We got very lucky this time that no one was seriously injured.
And can we have that distributed to the board of trustees?
When we get it, we'll get
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we get it.
Yeah, of course, we'll get that out.
I have something to say
Sure.
this about anything. So I wanted to know, I have a question. Being that, I was reading about it today with the EPTA. Are we going to be revisiting that here in Nyack?
We could. We have had stalled talks with the landlords about a replacement, about a side agreement to accomplish kind of what we want to accomplish with the ETPA. The problem with the ETPA is we need to establish, at this point, unless the law changes, and there is some motion to change the law.
Yeah, there's
Let's
like,
talk about that.
Yeah.
Is that going anywhere?
I didn't see it move this year, but that's not to say we still have next year, but, for the rest of this year, no.
Okay, now the problem is that in order for us to establish the basis for adopting the ETPA, we need to do a vacancy survey that shows the housing vacancy under 5%. The last time we did it, it was around 7% that we found a vacancy rate. And the reason for that is that we have to survey all the buildings that qualify under that were built before 1974 and that would otherwise qualify for the survey. We can't omit any buildings. And the problem is that there is a big luxury 170 unit high rise on the waterfront, which, because it's a higher end building, routinely has 15 or so vacancies at any given time. You know, just people moving out, people moving in. You know, when you take a snapshot in time, it's 10% vacant at any given time. And that is a lot. That's a big percentage of the total units in the village. And so it definitely it's made it difficult for us to establish the 5%. We haven't looked at it in a while. I'm not averse to taking a look at it. Probably wait till after the summer because there's a lot of transients in the summer that we'd have a lot of difficulty in the summer. But we could do another survey. We haven't done a survey in a year. We could certainly put them through the paces of doing the survey again, Andy. You know, just the same thing we've already done.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
think
there
we
are
could have-
people still having a really difficult time and, you know, they showed up for 2 years in a row, 2 years coming to us and I feel like, there's more to do, at least take another shot at it. That's just my.
I think that's a good idea. And I think also if we did get the survey out, it would jumpstart conversations about doing a side agreement if the survey didn't show up anything. And just remember, we did pass the good cause eviction statute. We did adopt it in the village of Nye. We're the first village in the state to adopt it. I don't know if many other villages have adopted it. A few since then, but not many. There's a lot of villages in New York State. And that does cap rent increases at about 8%, which is not as good as what the ETPA would do or what the side agreement would do, but it's a lot better than what we were hearing from people that they were getting 25% increases and 40% increases and things like that. So at least we did get the good cause eviction done. Anything else on that?
Yep, I want to say, not on that.
Okay.
Another thing is, I'm really glad that we have the code enforcers in and that they're doing their jobs because, since these 2 fires in Nyack, there are a lot of people that are afraid. And, so I'm really glad that I see Manny back there, that they're gonna, going around, including the 15 unit condo that I live in. So I'm really glad that we have them on board, especially now. Because of that, because there's a lot of people, every time you hear a fire engine in Nyack these days, everyone's jumping, including myself. So,
Yeah.
just want to say that.
Thank you. I think it's well said. I'm just gonna skip to adopt the minutes for 5/22 and 6/5. I want to get that, and then I want to get to one other item as a matter of courtesy for somebody who's here for just that item. Can I get the adoption of the minutes on the table?
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's do 5/22 first. Do we know who is here for 5/22, who's allowed to vote on it?
Just you two, wasn't it?
Well, I was here.
And I think you, Donna and Pascal.
All right, so the
Oh,
three,
so the three of
the
us.
three of us can,
Oh,
three of us can.
That meeting.
That was the meeting that Joe was away. All right, so 5/22, any comments or questions on the minutes? No? All in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. 6/5, the most recent meeting,
Donna was not here.
I was.
Don was not here, but you both were.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and John, I forget now who was here, but okay, so we got us three. Any comments or questions on the minutes for June fifth? All in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. I'd like to skip to, is there anybody else here for a specific item? I see a group of people in the front.
Did you guys sign in?
Oh, no.
Is it,
Wait. Oh, sorry.
well, let me do this one first, because I know we have, I want to skip to 6.9 of the agenda. Resolution 25-111, approving the mayor's appointment of Chris Burns and Bill Batson to serve on an ad hoc public arts advisory committee. Can I get this on the table?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and I can just, Bill's not here, I don't think, I didn't see Bill. But Chris, why don't you come up just to, if anybody has a question? So we talked about this last week, that we're creating a advisory committee. It has no particular, it's really just to advise us and to act as a clearinghouse for issues relating to public art in the village. And it's particularly important because there's going to be a major component of public art that's going to be implemented as part of the New York Forward Grant, which is we're in process with that right now, but we expect to have a big chunk of money to go into doing some public art within the community. And so we thought it'd be good to have an advisory committee of artistic experts to advise us on that. Is there anything you want to address on this?
No, I'm excited about working, I'm excited.
Everyone would do the same problem.
I'm so excited that the microphone is on.
Yeah, it's on.
And to be working with the village and, we're putting Bill, Andy and I have been working together to put together, and the Hudson Valley Mural Arts, group to put together, an advisory board to make sure that it reflects all the different parts of the community, from, age, gender, business owners, artists, sculptors, artscape, landscape designers, architects. We really want to make sure that the committee reflects all the different parts that are going to be going into helping advise the board. So we're excited about doing this, and I'm honored that you thought about me and Bill, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
And we're delighted to have you on
We're
it.
excited to work with you as well.
And make sure you get Bill, because Bill doesn't have much going on. It's not enough
No,
committee, so it's good that he's finding something to do with his free time. That's good.
I know. He made sure that, I think his primary role right now is making sure that I was gonna be part of the committee, so.
He accomplished that.
Yes.
Yeah, we were reluctant to even ask him because he's got so many irons in the fire, but I'm grateful that he's gonna participate with you on it, and thank you for chairing it.
Thank
There's
you.
gonna be more members?
Yes, they're picking members now.
Yes, they're gonna be at least 7. And we're meeting with the Hudson Valley Arts Mural group tomorrow to hear, they have some suggestions, and we just wanna make sure we have submitted a preliminary group of people to Joe for his review, and we just want to make sure that nobody has been asked yet. We just want to kind of make sure that, and if you have any suggestions, we'd be happy to hear them. But we want to make sure that it kind of reflects all the different aspects of making sure that the logistics are considered as well as the aesthetics, So, that's we're in the preliminary stages right now.
Yeah, I don't suggest I want to see that most of the members either being Village of Nyack residents or business owners in the village.
Absolutely, yes, that is definitely one of the primary requirements, is making sure they're residents or business owners, yeah, for sure.
Also, can we see the copy of the preliminary list?
Sure, absolutely. It's a Google Doc, and right now we're just sort of putting it together to just make sure, so that we kind of look at it and see if a pattern is, developing or, but yeah, we really want to have some feedback, and nobody has been reached out to yet. We're just sort of in that stage right now, thinking and seeing gaps, and I'm sure you're going to see holes that we don't see, or think of people that we're not thinking of. So we'd love to, if we want.
And if you have suggestions, feel free to forward them to her. Or
Yeah.
to both of
No,
them.
that's why I wanna see, like, I don't
Absolutely.
wanna suggest someone who probably already
Yeah,
thought
on the
about,
list,
that's more,
right.
yeah.
Absolutely, and like I said, no one has been asked yet, so right now, it's just sort of, we're just kind of looking at it and thinking, oh, why didn't I think of that person? Because you see it on paper, it's different than.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and we want to be fully transparent about the whole process and make sure it feels inclusion, and then we're gonna have open meetings. That's the whole point of the group, is then to have it open to the public and have the public be able to weigh in and give some advice and counsel. We want the whole thing to feel very elastic and organic. Great,
Thank you.
great,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. We got the motion on the table. Any comments or questions?
No.
All right, then I'll take a vote. All in favor? Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chris, for serving. Thank you, Bill and Absentia for serving as well. I wanted to make sure I took care of that so that we didn't, she was nice enough to volunteer to be chairing the committee. We don't want to have to sit through too many meetings that she doesn't need to sit through. All right, we have a list for public comment.
You guys don't.
2 minutes, yeah, we'll do 2
This is
minutes.
the list that you have to sign in order to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just leave it up there, everyone.
All right, remind everybody regarding public comment, if we have an action item relating to the issue you want to talk about, you can wait until we get to that action item, so you're talking when we're actually reviewing that item. If you have a general public comment that's not part of our agenda for tonight, this is the place where you would normally talk about it. But if you did want to talk about, for example, if you want to talk about the audited voucher summary, nobody wants to talk about the audited voucher summary, but if you want to talk about the Rivertown Films or the Yoga Festival or the tolling agreement, or the local law regarding cannabis that's going to be setting a public hearing for that, the stop sign going on Bird Street, and African American Day Parade, anything like that, we'll be getting to that item as we go through the agenda.
You don't have to sign in for that.
Well, they should sign in because we do, there's a lot of people signing in for one particular issue.
So we can list with she or something.
And usually we'll call the name and they'll say, I want to talk about this other issue or something. Although we should sort of say if there's something they want to talk about, just to makes it easier for when she's looking at us. So we'll put that as a category next time. On the list.
I just thought it might make more sense if you so you can organize people better.
Note that we do have a public hearing. The public hearing is on the stop sign and that can't start until, I believe, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we have 9 minutes.
We got time.
Do you want to take the ones? We know are not controversial at all.
Huh? Do you want to take some of the items off the table?
Yeah, audit voucher summary and
All right, we can do that.
Yeah.
In fact, why don't we do that while people are sending in, since they're taking time sending in. All right, let's move to 6.1, resolution 25-13. We'll get to public comment in just a moment. Yep.
Yeah, that's also.
There's a typo on there, I just want to correct it before you vote.
On the voucher summary?
Yeah,
What's the typo?
under the capital projects fund,
Well, let's get on the table first. Don't we be on the table first? I'm always reminded by the deputy. Can we get this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
All right, Andy, there is a typo that you're supposed to correct.
under the water improvements, it should be 62, not 622.
That's a much better number going out the door than 622. All right, that's good. Change that. With that change, it's under capital projects, instead of 622,000, it's 62,164 and no cents. Any comments or questions other than the fix to the typo? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. 6.2, resolution 25-104, the floating circus event, Memorial Park. Can I get this on the table?
So moved. Second.
Andy, just quickly, we talked about this last week. This is somebody who actually, the circus is offshore, right?
This is a group that has a boat that moors, within a stone's throw of shore and does a performance. Anybody can show up, it's entirely free. They would moor kind of near where the gazebo, where our old boat launch is, kind of where people could assemble on the gravel by the picnic tables and be able to see them do their circusy stuff.
Okay. That's great.
It's kind of fun. They're all up and down the river. They got a whole schedule.
Awesome.
They're adding Nyack to it, and it kind of puts us on the map.
Beautiful. September 7th, 2025, 6 to 7 p.m. Any comments or questions?
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it does sound pretty cool. All right, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. 6.3, resolution 25-105, a permit application of Rivertown Films to show a movie in Memorial Park. Can I get this on the table?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions about this? We talked about it last week. This is Rivertown Films. They're showing a film. It's some sort of documentary relating to the Lego movie. I don't really
Mhm.
understand it, but it's supposed to be very appealing, so. Get a good crowd.
Music.
It's about music as well? Okay, so basically it's gonna be about a whole bunch of things and very exciting. Any comments or questions?
Mm-mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 25-106 for the Yoga Festival in Memorial Park. This is item 6.4. Can I get it on the table?
Motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions about this? We talked about this in prior weeks.
I do wanna thank the folks for the yoga, cause I know there was some shuffling around with dates, so I.
Oh, they moved this to September. Okay, it's now in September.
I
Okay.
appreciate them for being flexible, and there's not a pun intended in that.
Oh, wow.
Nonetheless, I appreciate it.
Woof. That's the highlight of the night.
I
for me
really
right there.
wasn't until I.
Right, until you said it and you realize what you've done.
So.
All right, that's that's really you're invading my dad joke territory, quite honestly. and
I know,
have
it's
to,
unfortunate.
yeah, for both of
Let's
us.
all forget this.
All right, any other comments or questions? Any other puns anybody wants to share? All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll skip the two cannabis issues. I know people want to talk about those. We skipped the public hearing. Resolution 6.8, resolution 25-110 to reimburse somebody for mistaken payment of a boat launch fee. Can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Motion carries unanimously. We've done 6.9. 6.10, resolution 25-112 for a permit application for an African American Day event in Memorial Park and a parade through the downtown as part of the annual back to school barbecue. Can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
This is a rescheduling of the African American Day Parade, which was rained out twice
Yes.
because it is 2025 and it rains every day. And hopefully we will get better weather on Saturday, August 23rd, which is the rescheduled day. Any comments or questions?
Bring school supplies.
Bring school supplies, yeah, it's not just the parade now, it's actually, it's mixing, well, to get that.
Yeah, not to explain, it is also the back to school drive for, that the NAACP does with the Knight Center. So we're sort of combining all the events. So this is my call now, while school supplies is probably very inexpensive, to get some school supplies for students in.
Is there a rain date on this?
No, there is not.
So it's either then.
It's either then or, I don't know what to do,
Get
yeah,
a little wet.
yeah.
Be warm.
All right,
Oh, wait, hold on, there's public comment.
Is there a list of supplies?
Yes, there is a list. It doesn't come out until I wanna say maybe mid-July, so I would check with the Knight Center. I think they have the list. If not, I will find out from.
and we'll put it out in the,
Yeah, we'll post
we'll put it on social media, I'll put it on the village newsletter, whatever the list ends up being.
Yeah.
All right, any comments or questions, any further comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. 6.11, we need to do more talk on that. 6.12, resolution 25-114, approving the purchase of a Ford Maverick for the parking authority. We talked about this during the earlier meeting of the parking authority board. Any comments or questions? This is to replace a vehicle that's 13 years old and doesn't have air conditioning and needs a lot of repairs. And it's $30-something thousand, 33.
Oh, wait, we didn't motion.
Oh, can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Clerk.
Did we skip, never mind, okay,
All right, any comments or questions on this?
yes. So try.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. All right,
Did we skip a
all right,
resolution?
let's go back. Everybody signed up. Can you look at the list for the public comment?
Yes.
Is anybody here for general public comment? Once you start reading off the names, the people can say whether they want to wait for the topic to come up.
Bob Miller.
Wait, hold, one,
During
did
this
we
one?
skip? Yeah, 6:11
Oh, we can get to it. 6.11 is which one?
is to schedule the public hearing for big groups.
We'll
Or
do
that's
that.
today.
We'll do it when we get to it. It might be a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
we have a attachment, someone might have a question about.
Oh, okay, got it, sorry, I didn't miss that.
All right, so yeah, anything substantive I want to hold off to get to. So public comments on what, do we have somebody?
Adele? No, wait, okay. Matthew?
I'll go now. That's taking one too. I just want to say,
Could you please state your name and if you live in the village?
my name is Matthew Arthur Simon Schwartz. I do live in the village at 292 High Avenue. I just want to say I appreciate how the members of the Board of Trustees bend over backwards to support this community. No,
Oh, boy. Whoa. Okay, this is now a requirement of all public comments. You need to make a flexibility fund.
sorry. I have a letter here. I don't know if I should read it out or if I should give it to you, but it is a petition letter for the installation of an on-demand pedestrian crosswalk at New York State Route 9W and High Avenue. I live behind the hotel. Crossing that street is a nightmare. And I could read you the letter, I think, okay. So, to the Village Nyack Board of Trustees, I would also like to see if we can CC the Rockland County Department of Transportation and New York State Department of Transportation, Region 8. Subject request for installation of on-demand pedestrian crosswalk at New York State Route 9W and High Avenue, Nyack, New York. So purpose and problem. I'm writing to formally request the installation of an on-demand pedestrian crosswalk system at the intersection of New York State Route 9W and High Avenue in the village of Nyack. This crossing presents a clear safety risk to pedestrians due to its location and traffic conditions. The intersection is situated at the transition between a residential and commercial village environment and a state highway corridor. Drivers entering this zone often exhibit, quote, a highway mentality, maintaining speeds and behaviors typical of open road driving. As a result, they are less attuned to the possibility of pedestrians attempting to cross, and currently, no traffic control or signaling exists to prompt awareness. This puts residents, visitors, and hotel guests, many of whom arrive without a vehicle, at elevated risk when attempting to cross 9W on foot. So my proposed solution, I propose that the village, county, and state coordinate to install a pedestrian-activated signalized crosswalk, also known as rectangular rapid flashing beacon or pedestrian hybrid beacon system at this location. The design should include push buttons on all four corners, signal indicators that halt traffic in all directions only when activated,
Go, you finish.
clear pedestrian signage and pavement markings. And this system would allow for pedestrian crossings only when needed, minimizing traffic disruption while addressing a clear safety gap. I have a list of justifications. Number one is pedestrian safety risk.
But we'll assume we understand this.
Great. I would welcome the opportunity to discuss the proposal further, blah, 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 my name.
I appreciate the yada, yada, yada through the important stuff. I think, listen, we've actually proposed this. Isn't the problem that this is a state road and we don't have authority over it? Is there anything we can do? I mean, he's saying, is there a workaround that we could do?
So I don't know if you guys got an update. I know, our Assemblyman Pat Carroll sent a letter to DOT asking them exactly for your petition, because Trustee Carlin had brought it up in previous meetings as well, that there's nothing there for pedestrians. I believe DOT responded to to Assemblyman Carroll. The response is not the best.
No,
And I'm being generous when I say that because it was not good. So we have to continue to talk with Region 8.
Okay.
I know I also speak with those at Region 8. They are in transition at the moment, so there's not one, I don't think they've appointed a person to be in charge of Region 8 just yet.
Okay.
But this is actually a good time to ask for this because the state's capital plan is coming up for DOT, and projects like this, they usually get allotted to them during when they're doing like signage work and traffic, like all those traffic improvements. So if we keep pushing for the acts, which I know we will be doing, because I did speak with folks from Pat Carroll's office about pushing back a little bit on the department. So that is in progress in terms of getting that funding allotted for them to do work.
yeah, they basically denied that there's a.
Yeah, they said there's no problem.
It just.
Somebody's gotta die.
What they said they were asked to do was evaluate the existing timing of the lights. And they're-
Which is not.
That's not what we wanted them to do. Wanted
That's
them
not what they were asked to
Exactly
do.
what the gentleman asked. for.
Yeah.
A new crosswalk where one does not exist.
Yeah, that was not what that might have been part of the act, but it was general, it wasn't just fix the timing of the light. It was also, hey, there's no pedestrian crossing anything there. Can you also include that? And they were like, the light's fine. And they didn't really answer the rest of it.
Can we get,
So,
can we get Bill Weber to,
I think both of them are working on the issue, but I can touch base with his office. But I don't know what they've done on it because I know Legislator Carroll was.
Can you remind me the names of the people who are already involved?
So, New York State Assemblyman Patrick Carroll, he's the assemblyman for this district, and he is the state person that you would go to talk directly about, state roads. The other person is Senator Bill Weber. He also represents this area, and it's the same thing. You talk to both of those, offices about this. They've already heard from us. We've already requested this of DOT. So it's not that we have to go through that process again. They just have to now work with us on putting something there.
I know the hotel is interested in this.
They definitely want it, yeah. absolutely.
And I don't know how, if there's a formal way to get them involved. I think maybe they've probably got a little more pull than I do. One of my board members from the condo, where are you, John, is here.
Mhm.
I'm sure our condo board would sign off. Is there something formal that we should do
What
that
about
would be
a petition?
useful?
I think a petition is helpful. I would
Petition.
say also maybe a formal letter to the assembly people and the senator. Because what will happen is they'll take those letters and say to DOT, hey, this is really an issue. Like you have to do something about this. Now we're hearing from people. So anything like that, petitions, things like that, it's helpful to get that to the assemblyman and the senator because they are the people who directly advocate for things like this. And what happens with Region 8 is they'll just coordinate with the village on terms of specs and logistics and all of that stuff. So they're the ones who can also get funding allocated for it.
yeah, the letter that you wrote, that you read from, you haven't completed it, but I mean, we haven't heard the whole thing. That's a perfect
Thank you.
letter to send
Mhm.
to the assemblyman and the senator.
Okay. I'll give it to you guys. I have a copy of
Yeah,
this.
that's fine. Why don't you give it to Linda and then she can get, if you don't have copies, she can make copies first and scan it and send it to us.
What platform is it gonna be on for people to sign it?
I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, put it, maybe a,
Can you give me a copy of that?
What's the one people usually use, is it?
Cause.org.
Like that?
Change that?
Move on.
The best. Yeah, I mean, we've looked at the issue before. We're totally in favor of what you want to do. We tried to do it. We got stymied by the department and we'll take another shot at it. You know, at the very least, I mean, a very low cost thing to do in the meantime, we just put a crosswalk up. I'm just looking at it right now. That's what I was pulling up on my computer. I mean, it's just ridiculous that there's no crosswalk on either side of the street there. To signify that people do cross there. I mean, they do have the handicap ramps, you know, they're there so people are supposed to cross it, but there's no crosswalk going down the middle.
Nobody expects pedestrians to be there, and in particular, it's the people turning who are the most danger. That they're just not thinking, and
I think
yeah.
that's why the stoplight was also included in that first act for that.
Coming down High, right over there. Coming down High.
Yeah, well, this is where the
No,
crosswalk
not
would
there,
be.
not there. That's the
Well,
state.
this side? This is also state road.
Right over here.
There also may be a way to include more signage in there.
Crosswalk
Of
across.
course, that's
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, that might just work in the interim, but it might.
Yeah, it's not,
yeah.
at least for people making right turns coming down, at least it would notify them. You know, see what he's talking about? He's talking about
left turns. It's the people who come down off the highway and make a
Uh-huh,
left turn.
left turn, yeah.
I'm on the north side of High Avenue crossing 9W. And every time it's scary.
Yeah, okay.
Wanna put one of our radar signs there? Or our radar sign coming down?
You don't usually put one by a stoplight, that's the only thing. There's usually a stop
Right,
sign that's supposed to control.
it might make, if like the pedestrian crossing is the issue, it's better to stripe it. Than to put one of those there, or to at least put a sign saying it's a pedestrian.
Hey, listen, if somehow one morning people woke up and there was a crosswalk written across 9W, I don't know who would actually make a complaint about it. Just saying,
I don't know if anyone would know.
just throwing it out there in the universe, just throwing it out there in the universe.
It's because we're recorded.
That's okay, I didn't say, I said it would be surprising, I don't have anything, not suggesting anything at all. All right, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Next person with public comment,
Dominic,
he's gonna wait probably, yeah, what else?
Giant State Day. Okay, Val,
Wait.
waiting. Sophia,
Oh. You put my on it.
Yeah,
Would you like to join me?
you could all come up. You
Yeah, I know, this is.
support.
Hello.
They're all coming.
Hi.
Good evening, rather.
Please just state your name and, if you're a village resident.
My name is Sophia. Yes, I am a village resident.
Can you use the microphone?
Sure. Yeah, that is more accessibly minded. Hi, my name is Sophia. I am a Village of Nyack resident. And we are here, upon invitation to talk about a food distribution initiative that we have that is a mutual aid endeavor, which seeks to intervene on some of the $100 billion worth of food that is wasted in this country every year and redistribute it to community members in a very decentralized format. So we were in the square and we were told that we could not be in the square, and we didn't realize that these are regulated activities because typically mutual aid efforts are not, under the purview of regulations. So we were encouraged to come here just to try to tell you about what we're doing. It's been a really wonderful experience, really joyful, from people from all walks of life, and enjoy getting things that are donated by Old World Market, that are donated by the farmers market that would otherwise wind up in the bin because they cannot be sold. I think we get 200 pounds of bread every week that would have otherwise wound up in the trash. And it's just passersby coming. Some people from out of town are always like, oh my God, I love Nyack. Like, this is like, you do these kinds of things here. It's always such a surprise because people cannot believe in these times that somebody would just want to give you something without any kind of requirement. So we came here seeking, sorry, yeah, I'm not like.
Your gesture.
So yeah, we just came here seeking some possibilities in terms of where we might be able to continue to set up our little, very small, very,
What is it that you set up?
a small table. And it has, our fresh produce.
It's for drop off or pickup? It's for pickup.
Anybody who's walking by, we have shopping bags for people.
No, I'm saying it's you, at that point, you've gotten your food.
we have
for
it here.
distribution.
Yes, it's just giving it away, just giving it away to people.
I was there you were the first time, I guess the only time.
I wasn't present.
Yeah, but I was there, there was. You remember? Yeah, it's a very small space. It's just a 6-foot table. And they have all sorts of foodstuffs on it, vegetables and prepared foods, and it's. I know that you received an application, correct? From Andy, from the village administrator.
Yes, I believe so, but the permit application didn't seem to really cover, it didn't seem directly relevant. Donna?
Okay, so what's the name of your group or your organization?
Food Not Bombs, and it's not
Okay,
like the.
right, but that's what it is, non-for-profit.
Mhm.
And then, so some of your food, because I also went by there. So you get things from the farmer's market as well, and
Yeah, they
everything
donate a
seems
bunch of
fresh.
It's very fresh. They
And-
donate on Thursdays. When they're leaving, they give it away because they're just like, we're not gonna sell it, so you guys can have it and give it out.
And so another question is, so if you're looking for a place in which to distribute this, how often and how long of a time frame? Is it an hour? Is it 2 hours? Is it once a week? That sort of thing.
Well, we would love to just do it once a week on Fridays, if possible, or if that's not the best day, maybe we can revisit what day, but Friday it usually takes about 60 to 90 minutes to get rid of everything. That's on the table.
How do
And
you
it's-
let people know that you're gonna be there?
Because they've just come to expect that we'll be around, and like, it's just anybody that walks by, it's like just anybody that walks by. It's not
Okay.
something that people are coming to regularly necessarily.
So
They do
because
get
you
word
don't
of
have
mouth.
a regular spot.
Because we don't
So-
have a regular spot, and that's, we would love for people who really need it to know that we are there, but that's also just one aspect of it, right? It's just like whoever's happening by can also have
Yeah.
what they would like.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Um,
I think it's clear to say that we're not necessarily trying to do charity work. There are many organizations that are already doing charity work. This is not a hand down, it is a hand across. So just philosophically, it's a little bit different. We're saying this food is gonna wind up in the garbage. And it's almost like that happens intentionally because of market the way our society works, you know, there's always excess. And that excess is kind of built into the system, right? Well, we won't go into all the
Okay.
politics of it and all of that.
All right, so
But that's just kind of like what we're doing. We're just.
we need a
one
permit.
neighbor
It
has
seems
to
very
to
easy.
another.
Submit a permit.
Yeah, we need a
Approve
permit.
a permit.
Yeah, we'll approve the permit if we get a permit, but you gotta, even if it doesn't seem like, because it's built more for events than what you're doing, fill out what you can fill out and get it to Andy, and then Andy can tailor it to what you're trying to do a little bit, and we can approve it at our next meeting. But you do have to get that, and you also, as part of that, they'll need to get some sort of insurance, right? Somebody will need to be the representative, the person
The
that.
permit asks for insurance, and a liability waiver in case somebody, trips or.
Yeah,
falls
somebody trips or
chokes
falls or
whatever it is.
yeah, chokes on the food. I mean, that's the only thing. The village needs to be having, you need to have insurance to protect the village from if somebody trips over your food stand or you give them food and the food turns out not to be, what, it makes them sick or something like
If
that.
the village gets sued for any reason related. to-
So then your insurance would then kick in, not you, but you would have insurance that covers that. That's all. And that's a requirement that we have for anybody using public space in the village, no matter what they're doing, they have to do the insurance. But otherwise, it won't be very expensive for you to get the insurance for something like this. And it's a great thing you're doing. And certainly Friday afternoons are totally open and fine, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with this.
And I know you were in front of the storefront of somebody that was supporting that as well, so maybe they might want to help out in that aspect with the insurance, where I saw you guys on Friday.
Is it in front of the storefront or is it in the Hezekiah Park?
Of storefront that was there helping as well.
Okay, so I'm confused about location.
It started, and it was a
Yeah.
really
Where
great
were you at?
location, because we had started disability work, but then.
They
we
were
just
because of the
found-
food, yeah.
Because
What storefront were you in front of, or I guess it doesn't matter?
it was on Bird Street.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay,
On Bird Street.
okay.
In case,
and then once that happens, then you have a permanent, then you'll have a space and people will know where to come to find you also. But don't feel discouraged. You're not smiling anymore, it's still
And the
doable.
insurance, it won't be very hard. Andy can point you in the direction of where you get it. It's not a big deal. But it is something that's necessary for everybody who gets a permit from the village for use of public space has to get insurance.
It just feels like, like it's a public space that is funded by taxpayer dollars, like we shouldn't have to ask for a permit to be nice to your neighbors.
We're trying to protect those taxpayers from getting sued if something were to go wrong. That's the whole point of it. It's just a little more it's just a little way more complicated than you thought it was.
But
That's
this
all.
is not also, this is also not like a, like this is, well,
can I just point
should we
one
go
thing
away and
out
think about it?
that may help understand a little bit? Is the permit enables us to avoid scheduling somebody to do something in the exact same space at the exact same time. That happens a lot. People want to plan events and activities. If we don't have a permit system, we don't know how to coordinate among them. And so we'll have more than one request for the same place at the same time. It'll end up being a collision of interest. So having a permit system enables us to give people access to public space in a way where you don't have to worry about your activity being interrupted because we actually essentially permit for somebody to have a gospel flyer there and to have some type of cheese and happen.
Yeah.
That's why we have the permit.
Or there could be a protest or something like that gets scheduled. So we need to know why it's in that space.
If it's possible, so is it possible that if we ourselves, just a group of volunteers who found each other? Is it possible that we like coalition build or partner with a different, more established entity that might already be?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you might want to talk to Soup Angels, what you're doing. You might want to talk to
Pride Center.
Homeless
Pride
projects, they are
Homeless project, what'd you say?
501c3.
Pride Center says that's almost everything.
Pride Center does a lot of co-sponsoring and things like that. And
Okay, so if somebody like the Pride Center or Soup Angels, who's just across the street, we know Soup Angels quite well because
Okay.
we're all rescuing food
Yeah.
and giving it
United
to
Way
different
Food
people.
United Way.
So Soup Angels, and they'll, I would think, know how to do this.
They may well have an insurance certificate that can cover what we do.
Right.
Okay, and we would just be able to kind of.
Work under their insurance, yeah.
Oh, great.
And I'm sorry to put that on you. It's just that it's to protect the taxpayers and protect the village from the very unlikely, extremely unlikely, but you gotta protect against every possibility.
Let's go.
Yeah, so, yeah, stuff happens.
I would definitely work under that only because and seeking out insurance for events. I know sometimes you don't really fit the box that the insurance is looking for, so Soup Angels might have already worked that out because of them also doing the same thing of giving food away. So that might be a natural fit, but that's also where like the Nyack Homeless Project as well, because they do a lot of the same works. They collect coats to give to folks that are just in the community. So those two might be aligned, and then you can probably use their insurance as well.
Okay, great.
Thank you for what you're doing.
For giving us.
Thank you for
today.
doing, thank you for doing what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Well,
It's amazing.
when we're set
You're
up
all
again,
welcome.
please all stop by.
Yeah, no,
I've been in Nyack
absolutely.
for
In the
16 years,
weather.
I know, yeah.
and this is the most
You
positive
have to-
experience I've had.
Yeah.
tonight.
Nice.
Oh, you should taste some of the vegan things that he eats, because listen, his restaurant's like
By the
very,
way,
very quality.
I got, you were giving out, plants, tomato plants, so I took two,
Yes,
I planted them, and they are high now.
amazing. Yeah, we give away seedlings, like it's one of the best things I've ever been involved in.
Absolutely.
Really joyful.
So thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So hopefully we'll be able to update you soon. Are you the person that we would be
Yes.
reaching out to? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Linda, next up.
Kim? I can make.
Okay, Kim's waiting. And that's it? All right. The next item that we did not get to, well, we might as well start well, let's get where's the public hearing? Let's just, can I get a motion to start the public hearing on the, stop sign?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Does anybody have a public comment on the stop sign at Bird Street? That's 2 minutes, yeah, same 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Bob Miller. I live at the Claremont at 3 Main Street. And I'm here to talk in support of the stop sign installation. That's the intersection of Bird and River Street is really an accident waiting to happen, and it happens all the time. I'm sure that you have the statistics, and it seems like there's an accident there constantly. Is the danger is built in because there's, as you know, it's three-way intersection. There's stop signs on 2 corners and not on the other. And when you get there, nobody knows what's going on. Now, usually, if you get to an intersection where everybody has a stop sign, it says, 4-way stop sign or something like that. Here, you really don't know. And so every time I drive up, I am sure that somebody's going to be running a stop sign because they don't expect that the people coming west on Bird, whether they're coming from the garage at the Claremont or they're coming from the park, Memorial Park, are going to go right through that intersection because there's no stop sign. And so people in the other stop signs, if they get there first, they start going. And then somebody comes right through the intersection. And I watched from my porch the other day, there was an accident for just that reason. And it just goes on all the time. People are getting hurt all the time. And so I'm delighted that you're have this, and I appreciate that. I also want to quickly say, we appreciate your efforts to get the police department to monitor what's going on in Memorial Park in terms of the curfew. It really is impossible to keep your windows and doors open on weekends because of the revving up the motorcycles and the cars. And I know you've been talking to the police about it. It did improve, and now it's just a matter of monitoring it and making sure police continue to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Multiple times. They
Thank you.
really need to go back multiple times. a day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the public comment on the hearing?
Adele?
Yes, Adele. Hi,
Yeah.
Adele.
I.
You have to push it up.
No. Can I just speak loudly?
Yes, that's
In
fine.
the classroom.
It has to be heard.
Oh, thank you. Adele Garber, I live on Bird Street, also at the Claremont. I face that park and the parking lot. I've spoken to this group numerous times about the problems. But I'm here to talk about the stop sign. The first stop sign went in, obviously, in a very short period of time. That's the one coming off River Street going toward Bird. It's new and it's shiny and it's red, and I hope people will look at it because that's a really dangerous corner. The other stop sign obviously has to be there. Aside from people paying attention or not paying attention, I think it gives the police another reason to be there, to observe what's going on, to possibly at some point have a camera for those who are not observing the stop sign. Police need to be there a lot. And during the day now, we're getting kids and youngsters zooming in and out of the parking lot, zooming around the park itself. And it's really a dangerous place if it's not monitored. So thank you. And thank you for putting it in. I hope.
It should have been done a while ago. I don't know why it didn't happen before, but as soon as someone suggested it, it was a no-brainer to happen. Anybody else for this topic?
Hello. So I'm Kim Adele Rosner, not to be confused with Adele. But I do live in the Claremont also, and I live in 3 Main Street. I am one of those people whose car got totaled because somebody ran the stop sign on River. And I was coming out of the garage. I was not at the corner yet, but they totaled my car. So I'm just saying that is a dangerous, saying that. And I do appreciate it has gotten a little bit quieter. And I wanted to say thank you. And last night there was that thunderstorm. Maybe it was 9:30-ish. And that is a great way to get the parking lot empty. So and it will help though.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you.
That investment in the weather machine pays off over and over again. Anybody else? Any comment from the board?
It's gonna be on it's going up from
It's going
Claremont up.
westbound from, you come out of the marina
Mhm.
and you make a left.
Okay, and that's where the
It's
stop. sign's
that
gonna be.
corner, as you go up, on your left is the Nyack Seaport,
Yeah.
and you're going west up the
Okay.
hill. It's that corner that's right there.
Yeah.
And the other 2 corners have stop
Two
signs.
stop signs, yeah, I know, I
This
just.
one doesn't, and that was the point he was making, was that people who are at the stop signs assume that everybody has a stop sign, so they wait,
Right,
then they
treat it
start
like
to go, and the
freeway
person
stuff.
just shoots up Bird. Which is why they need it. And we did get a traffic study, I don't know if we had a traffic study, but we traffic consultants look at it, and they said it was an easy decision.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we don't do traffic law changes by sort of intuition, that there's, even though this one makes obvious sense, we always have a traffic expert review it to make sure there's no downside we're not aware of.
Do they ever do like a formal report on those things?
If you pay for one,
Oh,
you
okay.
can get a formal, it's more complicated, but this one we just did a street view and a conversation, and they said that they didn't see any reason not to do it.
You know, that's fine, I was just wasn't sure if like we need to include that in packets and stuff. Okay.
All right, any other comments or questions from the public, from the board? Motion to close the public, motion to close the public hearing, I'm doing it right.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the public hearing is closed. We might as well, while we're on the subject, skip to, because we can, 6.7, resolution 25-109. Adding the new stop sign at the intersection of Bird and River. Can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions beyond what we already have discussed? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, motion carries unanimously. All right, and now back to 6.5. I think that's Linda, make sure I've covered all these because I've skipped around a lot, but I think this is the next one. 6.5, authorizing the mayor and the village attorney to sign a tolling agreement with Oxo Cap LLC. Can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, the this resolution regards that we, following a board meeting about a month ago, when we adopted legislation that changed that instituted a proximity restriction between cannabis dispensaries of any kind. The applicant who has been pursuing a license to do a cannabis dispensary at the former home of Communal Kitchen, which is called the Communal Kitchen Dispensary, has came to us to complain about the fact that he was in the middle, he had already filed for a building permit, and this came out of, he was complaining that it was unfair what happened. We then got a letter from his attorney, which articulated, I think, three grounds, one of which was that the proximity restriction as it relates to a medicinal dispensary is preempted by regulations from New York State. The second was an argument that having invested as much as he did in pursuing the license, that there would be a unreasonable, is it a taking argument or is it a
Unconstitutional.
Okay, taking,
Private property, vested
property
right in
right,
a
yeah.
validly issued, permit or,
and that was the second ground. And then the third ground was that
more than that, but.
there was that was the basic concept. And then the third,
I mean, McGee versus Town of Orangetown argument.
yeah, the McGee argument. And then the third argument was that the public hearing notice was not sufficient given the significant change in the legislation that was made in hand at the hearing. And so what should have happened was that the legislation would be put off for another extension of the public hearing. That it was changed without notice, that he didn't know that he would be affected by the legislation because it wasn't affecting him as it was drafted and proposed and promoted. So looking at those three things, there is threat litigation. All that this does is there's no decision making as part of this resolution. It is simply to authorize us to sign a tolling agreement that will avoid the institution of legal proceedings until we resolve things. Is that basically correct?
Yeah, and tolling, some folks who don't understand, it's a pausing. So it's a pausing of the statute of limitations that would be applicable to the claims that are alleged by Oxocat. That's the cannabis dispensary applicant at the former Communal Kitchen. So all this does is lots of legalese and fancy language to essentially just say one thing. The statutes of limitations that would affect the claims that are alleged by Oxocat, the cannabis dispensary applicant, are paused while the applicant and the village work toward a mutually agreeable resolution. And there is a mechanism that doesn't drag on forever. Any one party, either the village or Oxocat, can send, I think it's 20 days advance notice that, we're
Terminating
feeling
it.
like this is going, whether it's the village or the other, can terminate that tolling, the pause would be lifted. And
things will proceed.
whatever happens. Right. They file a lawsuit, we defend it.
So this might not lead to a resolution negotiated, but it does just put things on hold while we figure out the lay of the land legally and whatnot. All right,
Correct.
yes.
Can I just ask for,
Sure.
I guess, in hypothetical land, what happens if we say, because I guess, one, is it beneficial to us to actually do the tolling agreement? And if we choose not to, what happens?
It doesn't hurt us at all.
Okay.
It only benefits us because if we don't agree to the tolling agreement, pause on the statute of limitations, you put your feet into the shoes of the applicant. They are the ones that have a statute of limitations hovering over their neck.
Right.
They would need to file certain claims within a certain period of time against the village.
Okay.
So if we said, no, we're not gonna pause the statute of limitations,
Then it would start us into.
they would file a lawsuit tomorrow.
Okay.
And so we would have to defend that lawsuit, which would be costly to the village. So it benefits us, I think, more than it does Oxocat.
It benefits them as well
Because
because
they don't have to pay lawyers.
they don't have to pay a lawyer to file a lawsuit.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
Dennis.
Any other comments from the board? Or questions at this point? I know people are here because some of the people who have been speaking about cannabis issues are here. If you can address this, you also, the next resolution is probably the more substantive one that you might want to address that instead. But if you want to speak to this, you're welcome to come speak to this as well.
I'd like to speak to both, but I do comment at 6.5 and 6.6.
One first.
Tom, just, yeah, come, go ahead.
1 minute, since he's coming on both.
No, it gets, well, why don't you, are you gonna talk about both or you want to talk about one then the other?
Talk about one, then the other.
All right, then 2 minutes for this one, and then,
Same, I try.
make sure your mic's on. Now, I just want to remember, this is basically just a legal this is basically about the legal proceeding. It's not, the next one's the
All the
substantive.
statutes of limitation.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so I just have a couple questions about this one. The formal notice of claim, where can we find this? Is there a place for us to look at this?
Well, didn't you? I did tell you it was okay to post it with the agenda package.
Not posted.
Well, it's
We can
public,
post a letter, we'll post a letter.
it's
Just
public.
like if I go on the website, is there a place
Well,
where I can go
apparently
and
it's not
find
set.
it?
It's not there yet.
Okay.
Andy was the copy.
And the tolling agreement, where is that?
That
Hasn't
also,
been signed yet.
that hasn't been signed yet, but that also could have been posted. That's been shared with potential adversaries, so it's not confidential, that could be disclosed to you as well.
Well, you know, just because I'm just.
Check
curious
the
today.
meeting agenda for this meeting.
You can have a.
We'll have them up tomorrow. Well, or else Andy will just email to you. If you email him, he'll email them too. But to get them up to the public, let's get them out to the public. We should have had it up already. That was an oversight.
And then at the end of this, where it talks about the village board authorizes the mayor and the village attorney to sign a tolling agreement. What is the proposed resolution of the claim?
There is none. This is just to basically give us an opportunity to engage in discussions about what we're going to do.
And then when do we hear about that? You know,
Um,
what you're thinking of doing?
Well, what we're thinking of doing is the next resolution. Because if we pass that resolution, then that probably eliminates the threat coming from the litigation, which is why the resolution is also part of the agenda for today. If that wasn't sufficient and we still, for whatever reason, there was still litigation, then that would be you would find out about the resolution of that when the resolution is made. If it's not, we don't discuss publicly our negotiating posture with regard to pending litigation.
Even though you're a municipality and a
That's-
private entity?
Nobody does. Nobody does. It's all done in executive session. We might discuss it publicly as a way of explaining it for purposes of making sure that people understand what we're doing. But that might be done before it was finally resolved. I mean, most likely there would be a document, a settlement agreement would be put out there for me to sign.
Not necessarily, if a lawsuit's not filed, right now there's no lawsuit filed, so, you know, we have settlement agreement, there can be settlement agreements. Certainly without litigation being filed, but
Like the tolling agreement should have been postulated and put out there before, because
Because I don't really know what kind of questions to ask, you know, I want to read through it, so I'm better informed.
the tolling agreement is really just it's basically all right, let's put everything on hold and then we can go into the substance. There's no substantive aspect to this whatsoever with regard to cannabis or anything.
it's summarized in the resolution.
Yeah, I understand that.
The 6.5 summarizes really, basically abbreviates, not by much, what the only agreement says.
And you're pausing until you come up with an agreement between communal kitchen and the village.
Not necessarily
If you-
agreement, if
A
the
mutual-
village takes certain steps that the OXO cap is pleased with, and it's not our function as a government to please OXO cap.
Right,
But if, I'm just saying, from their perspective, from OXO cap's perspective, if they're pleased with what the village action is taken, they may not file a lawsuit. And we can't control what they do. All this tolling agreement does is pauses the statutes of limitations that would be applicable to the claims that they're alleging. That's it. While they observe the actions by the village. And if they're not happy with the actions of the village, then I presume they're gonna go file a lawsuit.
Okay.
And without divulging my own attorney-client confidentiality discussions I have with the village board, Joe, the mayor, already told you 6.6 relates to 6.5.
Exactly. I wanna understand this before we move on to 6.6, because it doesn't,
But
you know, there's not that much.
it would be
we don't-
disingenuous
we don't
of
go
the board and me
months.
to not tell you that 6.6 is not related to 6.5. It is related,
Correct,
okay?
okay.
Anything further than that, then I'm
Going into
going into an
substance.
area of legal counsel that I only
We're not-
share with the village board.
Well, we're not gonna address the substance of the claims that were made by in terms of, other than summarizing what they said. We're not going to go into, legal advice that we've gotten with relation to those claims, or our response to what those claims would be, or anything like that. That's what we don't discuss publicly at this point in a proceeding.
But what I'll do while I'm sitting here, is I will email you both. The claim letter from their attorney and the tolling agreement, the draft tolling agreement hasn't been signed yet. Actually, it has been signed by also Cap. Also Cap has signed the tolling agreement. We have not. Because we have to have a resolution authorizing the mayor and getting signed. But I'm gonna send a quote to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Great, I'll wait for the next.
Maybe sooner than later, and you can reserve your remaining minute,
All right,
for when you get my email.
Okay, I was gonna comment on 6.5, but I'll just wait till 6.6 and just comment together.
That's fine.
Okay.
sure.
Okay, so Dominic Pilla, Village of Nyack. 6.5, 160, you have 160 Main Street, by the way, it should be 162, I believe. Is the address.
I'm a lawyer.
So, okay, so there is no lawsuit. There is no lawsuit, and the reaction of the village is to placate the person threatening, and by creating, putting the cannabis dispensary distances and all the separation back on the for discussion. So my issue is, I've been doing this I've been in front of board for 35 years, and I'm not a lawyer. I work with very sophisticated clients and very sophisticated lawyers. So, but I deal with zoning all the time. So even if they have an application in, and even with the McGee argument, what I'm having a hard time understanding is that there's many cases, precedent where the cases are all overturned because the application never made it to an approval board. It was just an application, an incomplete application, by the way. They were missing a site plan and other things. So Manny never approved this application. So all they have is an application, and they have a license at the state, none of which stops local law of changing local laws, right? I buy a building, my client buys a building, the building gets landmarked, the building, the height of the building cannot be achieved because it's a landmark building, the zoning changes, all of these things are at the buyer's risk. Same thing applies here. My question is, have you gone outside for outside counsel, for real expert consultation before you decide to do this? Because you're linking, you're finding a good reason to put all the dispensary distances back on the table, which we know is your agenda from the beginning, to actually discuss it again, because you're trying to stave off a lawsuit that really isn't even there. You have an angry.
Your time's up. You want to take you want to take 2 minutes on the next one, or you want to go?
Well, I'm gonna continue on the next one.
All right, you want to wait till we get to that? Okay, so let's go back. Any other public comment on this particular part of the resolution? But it has to be about this.
Calto, 40 South Mill Street. Yeah, I am a little bit at loss too. I understand that they're talking about the tolling. But I agree with everything, Dominic just said, that, why are we here again? And, yeah. Um. This is what, you always ask, are we residents, right? But this is a company. I don't know who this company is. There's what, Oxy Cap? Are they residents? You know, I mean, why are they making or influencing decisions that are for our families, our kids, and the people who live here? You know, so anyway, I'm just at a loss.
I'll comment on 6.5, if that's okay.
Okay,
Stay on
Mike Desan, 207 High Mount. Nice to see everybody again. I hope everything worked out with the hedges. I will just say to what was mentioned on 6.5, I am a lawyer, I'm an attorney, my expertise is criminal law and immigration. I don't have any knowledge about what's going on with this per se. And I mirror what Dominic said about this is a very complicated and nuanced and new area of law that's currently, we're on the forefront of litigation. And I think it would really behoove the town to seek outside counsel, because I know there are attorneys that do specialize in this. And so rather than being scared off by the potential of the lawsuit, which has been thrown around by many towns with dispensaries facing this issue, and dispensaries with these issues, I think it is better to step into a more informed role, so that we don't have to revisit these issues. If we don't, you know, you guys stand for something and you're not to be pushed around because you represent the town. You know, this is one store versus the will of the people here. Regarding the tolling issue, my concern with that is, are there assurances in that agreement that the applicant is not taking steps to further their position that in the case of litigation, they would have more of a claim because they've had more of a reliance on this property? That worries me about that, because are they suspending their paperwork with the state and whatnot so that they are in the same position as they were entering the tolling issue? Because they could go into this tolling issue and come out of it in a very different posture if they do have a litigation. I mean, it seems like a tactic to me, and I'm a little worried about that. And then regarding the 3 claims that they made, if I recall correctly, I think the 3rd claim was they weren't aware of what was happening with the laws that are being passed and statutes and whatnot. I have to say that sounds pretty frivolous to me, because when we came before the board, multiple times we were told, you weren't here when this happened, you weren't here when this was going on. And so I think the burden of being made self-aware at these meetings should be it's incumbent upon the applicant too. So
thank you. Any other comments about 6.5? Resolution 25-107. All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. 6.6. This is resolution 25-108, authorizing the scheduling of a public hearing to consider proposed local law, amending the zoning code, establishing the required minimum distance between retail dispensaries. Can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this is now on the table. Now, this is just to set the date of the public hearing. This is not a substantive, we're not making a substantive decision. We're setting it for July 10th at 8 p.m. But if people want to comment on this, we'll give you the opportunity to make a comment on this, but we're not going to make any decisions other than setting a public hearing.
So would D or Dominic? So would we or Dominic want to say, sorry.
Any comments on this from the board?
No. Not.
Comments from the public on this particular issue? Dennis?
Oh, thank you. It was on before.
I know, yeah, and the light is.
You left it on. People gotta stop turning it off when they're done, like they dropped the mic.
Yeah, the light's on.
We need to motion.
We have a loud air conditioner behind us, that's why. No.
It's a breezy day. So
I don't even have.
Breeze doesn't come inside.
Yeah, right. Windows are fair.
You want me to just?
Hold on, he's gonna get your mic.
Some like to kind of.
Oh, we have to change the batteries?
What's the other, what's the Dell say? Use the teacher voice?
It's a bad combination with the.
I was gonna say, or like, the mom voice when you're ready. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I just have a question when it says about the, to consider a proposed local law. So where will that be? Will we have that before?
That, yes,
Because
that's,
when's that coming? What, do you know what's being proposed? Is it to go back?
I'll give you it right now. We have copies of right here. This all should be published as well.
Is it B? Attachment B.
It's attachment B. I believe that's the right one. Stop sign was A and then C is the structures, which we haven't done yet. It's what you're saying, it's like. Well, I'll give you a chance, you don't have to read it now and if you have
Is
any
it just, I mean,
comments.
can you tell me, is it just going back to what it was before the law?
It's eliminate, it eliminates the proposed law eliminates the
Restriction relating to medical.
related to medical. It keeps the 2,000 feet around a recreational, but not a medical.
So essentially, it's what was voted on last time, trying to change it back?
Wait, is it?
No, last time there was 1,000 feet from medicinal and then 2,000 feet from a
Recreational. to
recreational.
So
Recreational.
now,
Well,
now what are you
it would
proposing?
be 2,000 feet from a recreational. The medicinal, without getting into,
I can summarize.
go ahead, summarize why.
Actually, your gut feel, or what you were thinking is essentially it. The restriction will still be 2,000 feet, but not as it relates to a medical dispensary.
So back to what it was before you voted last time. So
It's also been cleaned up and clarified, that's why it looks different, physically it looks different, because it was just a little too visually complicated, so. But substantively, the only real difference is that it will not affect the distance
between the communal kitchen and the potential.
of a medical
of the Starbucks.
dispensary. So if
So it would allow for the communal kitchen to open.
Or another dispensary.
If Starbucks remains a medical dispensary. Well, what is it? Yeah, it would not affect, it would be, a communal kitchen would be able to be a recreational dispensary. If Starbucks is a medical dispensary. If Starbucks is not a medical dispensary, then no, communal kitchen cannot be.
Right, but as of now.
And the reason for that is that state regulations specifically eliminated proximity restrictions as they apply to medicinal dispensaries. In state regulations that were promulgated a couple of years ago. So it's not, they don't consider the medicinal dispensaries as relevant for proximity distinctions between recreational dispensaries.
Right. But so the vote that took place
That's why there's two in Foxtown.
a month ago, I know, but here where people stated
No,
that
I
they
mean, as
didn't.
far as medical, so we can't restrict the proximity restrictions when it comes to medical dispensaries. So by saying, let's say hypothetically to a recreational dispensary that's within 2,000 feet of a medical dispensary, because you can't go there because you're within 2,000 feet of another dispensary. Hold up, we're within 2,000 feet of a medical dispensary, you can't have proximity restrictions that relate in any way, manner, shape, or form to a medical dispensary. So that's why this amendment, that we're talking
Then how
about.
are you allowed to pass the last law?
Well,
that's a reference to.
how that happened. how that happened.
All right.
No,
Now,
explain.
hold on, Dennis.
No,
No, we don't have a reference. You can go hire a lawyer and look it up and do all that. The reason we're doing is the last law that we passed probably would have also been illegal because it put 1,000 feet from a medical dispensary. We're not allowed to put any feet between a medical dispensary and a recreational dispensary. However, when it was changed, sort of by hand at the meeting on the fly, by putting the 2,000 feet around any dispensary, it then did not leave 2,000, it became invalid because it was lumping in the medical with the recreational. So what this does, it makes it clear that it's only from recreational to recreational, which would not, nothing is gonna prevent Starbucks from opening because we don't have any authority over Starbucks.
Also, I understand.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that. It's that we don't have any authority over medical dispensaries any more than Clarkstown had authority to stop the place in Bardonia from opening. The recreational dispensary, it would block any other recreational dispensary downtown. Anything that opened in the downtown would block another one with 2,000 feet, but we would get one, under the proposed law.
So the 2,000 foot rule that we enacted is fine, it's just we can't add anything saying that we're restricting medical dispensaries.
Yes.
And that was done on the fly, so I think you need to understand. One of the complaints from Oxo Cap is, and they did read the notice of public hearing, it said recreational only. It was literally at that last second where it was by
We did talk about
hand,
the
it
medical
was modified by hand, by
1,000 feet.
motion.
Would not
To
affect.
throw in any dispensary, which of course any includes medical. That is the gist, one of the claims that Oxo Cap is asserting, that they looked at the notice of public hearing, they looked at the proposed local law, and they said, oh, okay, this won't affect us because medical is carved out and, are the measurement, the proximity regulations can't relate to distance from a medical dispensary, so we're okay. So they didn't come to public hearing, they didn't express their opposition because they thought, hey, the notice of public hearing says recreational only as it relates, so
Medical.
that's one of their complaints. And at the last moment, the board decided by motion to make it affect all dispensaries, including medical. And the notice of public hearing didn't say that that's what it was going to do. So that's one of the complaints that's coming from Oxo Cap.
So when a law gets passed, it can just get changed again,
Yeah.
right away? I mean, I'm just
They can
asking.
change it as often as they want, as long as you comply with proper procedure, and that's why this is going on the agenda tonight, because they have to adopt a resolution authorizing the scheduling of a public hearing of a proposed local law. It has to go out to all the referral agencies, has to go to the Rockland County Planning Department, has to go to the village of Upper Nyack, the town of Clarkstown, town of Orangetown. And it's gotta go to a bunch of places, the village planning board is gonna review it as well. And then it comes back here for the public hearing. And in all likelihood, it won't be adopted on July 10th because the 30-day time period won't have elapsed between when we send it out to the referral agencies, et cetera. So the public hearing is anticipated to be opened on July 10th, is it? And it will, in all likelihood, it will have to be continued to a future date beyond that because we will not have heard back from the Rockland County Planning Department, probably not, definitely not, I don't think, from the village planning board, unless they meet before July 10th. But anyway, I'm going on and on.
What's the next meeting after July 10th? Because why are we setting it, if we think there's absolutely no chance that we're gonna discuss it on July 10th?
I think the thought was that there's gonna be a lot of interest in this, Joe.
Huh?
I think the idea was there's gonna be a lot of interest in this. Let the public come on July 10th, knowing that, we're not gonna be able to close the public hearing, we'll have to.
I mean, it's not that much time. A lot of people think that this is over.
Nothing's gonna be done, that we're not, he's saying we're not gonna take action on July 10th to pass a resolution, pass the legislation at that point.
Cause
It's not gonna happen until the end of August.
So people will have an opportunity between July 10th and August 21st, whether they can come in person or they send us an email to comment, to submit public comment for this
Yeah.
hearing.
Yes.
I don't wanna say nothing can happen on July 10th, because it is possible the county could respond with its GML review report voluntarily before that 30 days. They don't have to wait 30 days. The village planning board, I think, meets before July 10th, so they could also theoretically give you
All
their
right, so it's
recommendation.
theoretically possible that
It
we
is
could,
theoretically possible
okay,
that.
but unlikely.
There could be an adoption of the local law on July 10th. I'm just saying it's probably unlikely because you have Independence Day in there.
So
I'm thinking
the
it's
planning
gonna-
board is gonna talk about,
gonna
at
be
the
working
next
next
planning board meeting, they're gonna talk about this in
Right.
order for you to, before I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand, before this public hearing, the planning board is going to discuss this new proposed law?
Possibly, I
When is
don't
the
control the
next-
agenda, these guys don't control the planning board's agenda, but it is being sent to the planning board with a request from this board, Linda. Send it to Mary and to Manny, asking the planning board to give their advisory opinion / recommendation to the village board of trustees.
planning board meets July 7th.
And the planning board is July 7th,
Yes.
so it's possible that planning board may say, well, geez, you're not giving us enough time, we need to digest this, and they may not be willing to give an advisory opinion. I think they're allowed 60 days, I think. don't quote me on that.
All right, let's not, if we don't know, let's not say, we don't know.
I think
But
we're making a.
Yeah.
It's unlikely, but it's possible that we could take action on the tenth. It's just that with a lot of things would have to happen very quickly for that to happen.
It's theoretically possible.
Particularly with the intervening holiday and all that.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
sure.
Yeah.
Fast.
I don't think it really matters.
Testing.
Oh.
This one.
Check. Okay, guys, so I know there is a lot of ambiguity with the laws, but they are very, very, very clear in New York State about TMP and that the village decides TMP. It's the reason why a medical dispensary isn't on 40 South Middle Street where I live. It's why, the DMU 1 and DMU 2 was voted upon to allow dispensaries down here, as I understand, right? So the village obviously has a lot of control about where these are being placed. So, a month ago, we've had, this discussion, and I felt we came to a reasonable compromise. We didn't walk away feeling like it was our initial reason to be here was about the Starbucks. And we walked away with a dispensary opening at Starbucks, but we felt that, since we were able to stop 2 dispensaries from opening in Nyack, we thought that this was like a reasonable compromise for all of us. But now to bring this back up, and it just feels like we're just moving backwards again. And and I'm sorry, Rebecca is a great speaker. I feel very emotional about this, but I saw the kids, I was sitting outside of Tarantino's a week ago. Saw the kids coming out after school, and they're all really happy kids coming down from the middle school, from the high school, going into town around 2-3 o'clock. And, it kind of hurt to know that there was a soon to be a Starbucks dispensary where all these kids were going towards, to the ice cream shop, to the pizza shop. And that moment hit me why I've been here the last few weeks and months, because it's about what are we saying to our kids that, hey, we don't really give a shit about what Nyack means to you guys. We don't give a shit.
All right, yeah, time. Anybody else?
It was on. Well, Dominic again, Village of Nyack. So again, putting this law out, opening up is you guys already decided, you had your meeting, you already decided. It seems to me you should have had a public hearing about what to do with a possible lawsuit coming. You don't have a lawsuit. You have the threat of a lawsuit and you're reactionary and you're jumping around and you just decide, well, we're gonna go and open this all up again. And for really no reason, you don't have to. Again, I'm asking you to go get real counsel that understands.
I take issue with that. We have real counsel.
Take issue. No offense.
I'm sorry, I have no choice but to take offense at that.
Well, okay, shoot.
It's an obnoxious thing to say.
No.
We have our counsel, that's our lawyer. You wanna hire your own lawyer? Hire your own lawyer, they can send us a letter, we'll look at
You're
it.
afraid of a 700-person law firm, and so you're doing this. So what I'm saying is.
Honestly, I'm not afraid of anything. I think they're right.
Okay.
I think they're right, and I don't think what we did was right, and so I'm in favor of revisiting.
So you think they're.
I'm not saying
So
that your,
there's no-
I'm not saying your
there's no
advice to
one
me.
here from
I'm saying what I
162.
said.
There's no one here from
If
one
they,
sixty-two.
Dominic, they didn't paying attention during these public hearings. I stated more than once that I had serious reservations whether or not we could adopt a local law that restricts the location of medical dispensaries that with regard to proximity. I said more than once, and I used the word preempted by state law. So we're
But
not
it's still,
afraid.
it's still out there. You don't know.
We're not
what they
afraid.
are.
It's just that what I've been saying all along is we are preempted by state law. when it comes to regulations regarding proximity restrictions for medical dispensaries.
But Dennis, you
I'm
know,
not being shy about saying that.
Totally, again,
I'm not being
look,
shy.
like me, I have not been able to find any law that says anything about that.
I have, and I've researched this thoroughly, so talking about hiring outside. At this point, I can confidently say, I don't think anyone knows anything more about this in the state than I do, because I spent so much friggin' time on it. And I've spent, I sent this board a very thoroughly researched legal memo on this, about this very issue. And I am 100% confident that we are preempting state law when it comes to proximity restrictions that relate to the location of medical dispensaries.
And you should see how
Now,
that's
time, place,
defended.
and manner to respond to Carol's comment. That time, place, and manner phrase, which I've also addressed in my legal memo to this board very thoroughly and carefully, has to do with zoning, not about that number of feet distance, that proximity regulation.
zoning.
About the
That is
number of
zoning.
feet.
That's
No, they're
zoning.
different. You could say like.
All right, we're not-
Clarkstown could say.
Dennis, we don't need to have a
Yeah, I'm
debate on a legal issue.
I'm gonna finish with this. Just like Clarkstown could stop the medical dispensary or dispensaries, I think they have two now. I heard, but at least one. They can zone where the medical dispensaries go, and we can as well.
Yes, I understand.
And we allow them in DMU one. We allow them in
I
DMU
understand.
two.
Dennis, I
All right.
So that has to do with zoning, time, place, and manner, essentially, not how many feet.
Dennis,
between a
we're-
medical
It's still
dispensary.
zoning.
That's all.
It's still, it's in zoning code, that it's still zoning, it's still property.
You can't just do whatever you want,
I
in
know,
zoning
it's in
regulation
zoning.
control.
All right, I'm cutting this off. I don't have a gavel, but I'm cutting it off. We're not having a legal discussion here
My
anytime. soon.
point again is you care more about this 162 Main Street than you do about the people in this town. Because, and you're saying, they're right, you're already decided what you're going to do. So it's.
I've
bad
been consistent with what I wanted to do all the way through.
So now you get in the way, right?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, but this is a way to spin it, right? Of course it is.
All right, I think, Dom, I like you personally. We've known each other a long time. I'm tired of the disrespect that you show me and this board when you come up here. And I'm sorry, and that's, I get the last word here, because it's my meeting. I get the last word. I'm tired of your disrespect for me, disrespect for him, disrespect for the board. You are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to come and make your public comment. You are entitled to take your public polls and do everything that you want to do to fight this. And who knows what will happen. But you're coming to these meetings and saying the kinds of things you say is it's out of line. I'm just gonna tell you, that's out of line. All right, that's fine. All right. Any other comments or questions on this issue? Dennis?
Well, I have nothing.
Now I realize all we're doing is setting a public hearing.
No, I know that. I just have, Mike Hassan until 7 p.m. again. I just wanna. I've worked a lot with these people. I consider them friends now. I have a lot of respect for you guys and what you do. I know this is one issue that we don't see eye to eye on. And I don't want it to get heated when it doesn't have to, so I'll try to take it down a notch. I do have a question for, Dennis or anybody who can answer this. I know that with the Starbucks location, they had, when they applied, there was something where they could change from a medical to a recreational, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, that is always an option for them to change one of their locations. They have, I think, 4. They can change one of them under the regulations.
so my
Not
question,
our regulations, under state regulations.
so my question is, if hypothetically, if you have communal kitchen and they're there and they're clearly gonna become recreational and Starbucks starts off medical, what happens if Starbucks, if they wanna change?
I don't believe they would be able to, but I'm not 100%. My focus was on a slightly different issue, but I just.
Because I think that, I just wanna know, because that's an important issue.
Reservation, I'm not 100%, but pretty certain that Starbucks will not be able to convert to a recreational if communal kitchen is open, licensed, and operating as a recreation.
Okay, and then regarding that's important, and then the other thing is, I had, regarding the outside counsel. I mirror what Dom's saying, and that's not disrespect to Dennis, I just think that as an attorney, this is a very new area of law, and I know that Dennis probably wears a lot of hats, but there are people that specialize just in this. And I think if we're gonna go forward with this, I would hope that whether somebody in the public was to get an attorney, or whether you guys were to get it, I would just hope going forward, you guys would be open to listening to that. Maybe off the record, maybe not at a meeting where things get pretty heated, but I would be hoping that you would listen to that, because I think the goal of everybody here